From T-34s selling for supercar money to KV-1s rarer than Ferraris, Soviet armor commands shocking prices at auction today. What does it cost to own a piece of the Red Army's steel legacy? Let's find out. Let's begin with the light tanks that rolled into war unprepared for what was coming. T-26. The T-26 served as the Red Army's standard light tank through the Spanish Civil War and into 1941. Mass-produced in the thousands, survivors fetch $80,000 to $150,000 depending on condition. Solid used luxury car money. BT-7. The BT-7 combined speed with Christie suspension and bizarre convertible capability, running on wheels or tracks. Rare operational examples command $120,000 to $200,000, with that eccentric engineering-driving collector fascination beyond its combat record. T-28. The T-28 medium tank featured multi-turreted design and decent firepower for its era. With only a handful surviving worldwide, expect $250,000 to $400,000 for the privilege of owning this pre-war relic. T-35. The T-35 land battleship remains one of history's most impractical tanks, sporting 5 turrets and ceremonial parade fame. Only one complete example exists in museums, making private ownership virtually impossible. Theoretical value exceeds $2 million for this unicorn, continuing with the legend that changed armored warfare forever. T-34-76. The T-34-76 revolutionized tank design with sloped armor, reliability, and mass production that overwhelmed German logistics. Today's market offers restored examples at $400,000 to $650,000, placing them squarely in Lamborghini territory for well-documented specimens. T-34-85. The T-34-85 refined the design with a bigger turret and 85mm gun that could challenge Panthers. As the most available Soviet tank, prices range $350,000 to $600,000, still cheaper than its earlier sibling due to higher survival rates. KV-1. The KV-1 breakthrough tank terrified German forces in 1941, its armor shrugging off most anti-tank weapons. Extreme rarity pushes values to $800,000 to $1.2 million, assuming you can find one outside museum collections. KV-2. The KV-2 mounted a bunker-busting 152mm howitzer in a comically massive turret. With perhaps 3 complete examples globally, all museum pieces, private sale would likely exceed $1.5 million for this bizarre beast. KV-85. The KV-85 represented a desperate stopgap, cramming an 85mm gun into the heavy chassis, virtually extinct in private hands. Theoretical pricing approaches $900,000 for this transitional rarity. IS-1. The IS-1 existed as a prototype stage heavy tank before the IS-2 refinement. Museum-only status means pricing remains hypothetical, likely $1 million plus if one somehow reached private market. IS-2. The IS-2 became Stalin's answer to German heavy armor, its 122mm gun-cracking Tigers and leveling Berlin. Strong collector demand pushes prices to $900,000 to $1.4 million for operational examples. Mansion money for Soviet steel. But tanks aren't the priciest Soviet machines. The real shockers come next. Next up are the tank destroyers and self-propelled guns that combined firepower with Soviet pragmatism. Their rarity today commanding prices that reflect desperate wartime innovation. Su-76. The Su-76 light self-propelled gun earned the nickname Bitch from crews exposed to enemy fire in its open compartment. Mass production means survival, with examples fetching $150,000 to $280,000, depending on restoration quality and running condition. Su-85. The Su-85 emerged as a mid-war stopgap, mounting an 85mm gun on the reliable T-34 chassis to counter German mediums. Moderate rarity pushes values to $320,000 to $480,000, though finding operational examples outside Eastern Europe proves challenging. Su-100. The Su-100 packed a powerful 100mm gun capable of penetrating any German armour, remaining in service decades after the war. Healthy survival rates keep prices at $380,000 to $550,000, making it the most attainable Soviet heavy hitter for serious collectors. Su-122. The Su-122 assault howitzer provided close support with its 122mm gun mounted on a T-34 hull. Scarce examples command $400,000 to $620,000, with most survivors locked in state collections or restrictive private museums. Su-152. The Su-152 Beast Slayer earned its nickname, destroying German heavy armor at Kursk with 152mm shells. Museum-only pricing approaches $750,000 to $1.1 million for this massive assault gun, assuming export barriers could somehow be navigated. ISU-122. The ISU-122 heavy self-propelled gun mounted the 122 meters on the IS tank chassis for improved protection. Rare operational examples fetch $680,000 to $950,000, with most survivors serving as static monuments across former Soviet territories. ISU-152. The ISU-152 bunker destroyer combined the IS chassis with devastating 150mm firepower that leveled fortifications. Collector Grail status pushes theoretical pricing beyond $900,000, though private sales remain virtually non-existent for this beast. ZIS-3 76mm field gun. The ZIS-3 became the most produced artillery piece in history, serving on every front with reliable effectiveness. Abundant survivors create affordable entry at $15,000 to $35,000, delivering actual Soviet hardware for new truck money. M30 122mm howitzer. The M30 provided divisional fire support and backed Katyusha barrages with conventional shells. Available examples range $25,000 to $60,000, though transportation costs often match purchase price for these 5,500-pound beasts. ML20 152mm gun howitzer. The ML20 heavy artillery piece could lob shells 16 miles, cracking German fortifications and supporting breakthrough operations. Museum piece status means $80,000 to $140,000 for the rare private examples, all static displays requiring specialized transport. BM-13, Katyusha. The BM-13 rocket launcher became the voice of Soviet artillery, its salvos terrifying German troops with distinctive shriek. Cultural iconography drives prices to $280,000 to $520,000 for authentic examples, though replica market muddies valuation for restoration projects. BM-31, Katyusha. The BM-31 fired larger 300mm rockets from rarer launch platforms, delivering even more devastating barrages. Platform scarcity pushes prices toward $350,000 to $580,000, assuming distinction from common BM-13 variants can be documented. But heavy firepower didn't win the war alone. Soviet logistics depended on thousands of simpler machines. Next up are the reconnaissance vehicles, armored cars, and trucks that kept Soviet armies moving, their rugged simplicity making them the most attainable pieces of Red Army history. BA-10. The BA-10 six-wheeled armored car carried a 45mm gun into pre-war conflicts, its angular turret recognizable from Spain to Finland. Survivors command $180,000 to $320,000, with most examples residing in Eastern European collections, where export restrictions strangle Western market access. BA-64. The BA-64 light scout car served as the Soviet Jeep equivalent, nimble enough for reconnaissance yet armored against small arms. Prices range $65,000 to $110,000, making it the most affordable Soviet armored vehicle still capable of running under its own power. T-60. The T-60 light reconnaissance tank paired a 20mm cannon with minimal armor, designed for desperate production during Moscow's defense. Affordable by armor standards at $140,000 to $240,000, collector appeal stems from wartime desperation engineering rather than combat effectiveness. T-70. The T-70 upgraded light tank formula with slightly better armor and a 45mm gun that remained inadequate against German mediums. Moderate survival pushes values to $180,000 to $300,000, though most operational examples never leave Russian territory due to cultural heritage laws. Gaz AA. The Gaz AA replicated Ford's Model AA design under Soviet license, becoming the Red Army's light transport workhorse through early campaigns. Abundant survivors sell for $18,000 to $35,000, delivering authentic Soviet transport for used Honda money. Gaz AA. The Gaz AA added a third axle for rough terrain capability, hauling supplies across roads that barely qualified as trails. Common availability keeps pricing at $22,000 to $42,000, though mechanical simplicity makes restoration straightforward for patient enthusiasts. ZIS-5. The ZIS-5 medium truck became the standard Soviet hauler, its open cab and crude suspension trading comfort for reliability. Workhorse pricing settles at $25,000 to $48,000, with running examples commanding premiums over static restoration projects requiring complete drivetrain rebuilds. ZS-6. The ZS-6 gained fame carrying Katyusha rocket rails, its association with Stalin's organs, adding 30% over standard truck values. Expect $35,000 to $65,000 for documented Katyusha carriers, though most lack original rocket hardware that museums jealously guard. GAZ-67. The GAZ-67 Soviet Jeep combined crude bodywork with surprising off-road capability, its angular lines appealing to crossover collectors. Prices range $28,000 to $52,000, straddling military and civilian vehicle markets where restoration parts flow more freely than specialized armor components. Lend-Lease Willys MB. The Lend-Lease Willys MB served in Soviet colors, American engineering meeting Red Army logistics in oddball combination. Confusion Premium pushes values to $32,000 to $58,000, as easier parts availability paradoxically increases prices over rarer Soviet equivalents. Studebaker US-6. The Studebaker US-6 Lend-Lease truck proved more reliable than Soviet designs, becoming preferred transport for critical supplies. American-Soviet hybrid appeal commands $30,000 to $55,000, though determining authentic Red Army service history separates premium examples from standard restorations. Comintern Tractor. The Comintern artillery tractor dragged guns across mud and snow, its agricultural roots showing in crude track design. Crossover appeal with farming collectors keeps prices at $15,000 to $38,000, making it attainable for enthusiasts wanting tracked vehicles without tank-level investment. STZ-5 Tractor. The STZ-5 earned legendary status at Stalingrad, its factory producing tractors turned gun carriers until German shells destroyed the assembly lines. Historical premium pushes values to $22,000 to $45,000 for survivors bearing Stalingrad provenance, though documentation proving factory origin remains contentious among collectors. But the rarest Soviet machines weren't workhorses. They were specialized vehicles produced in numbers that made survival nearly impossible. Next up are the specialized vehicles and rarities that existed in numbers so small that private ownership borders on fantasy, their prices reflecting pure unobtainium status. T-37. The T-37 amphibious tankette paddled across rivers with minimal armor and a single machine gun. Survival rates below 1% push values toward $220,000 to $380,000, assuming you locate one outside museum vaults. T-38. The T-38 improved the amphibious formula with better ergonomics and slightly thicker armor that still couldn't stop much. Even rarer than its predecessor, expect $260,000 to $420,000 for this aquatic relic if one somehow surfaces. T-40. The T-40 represented the final Soviet amphibious scout, mounting a 20mm cannon before the German invasion rendered the concept obsolete. Museum-only status means theoretical pricing exceeds $350,000 for this virtually extinct swimmer. Aerosan. The Aerosan propeller-driven combat sled attacked across frozen lakes and snowfields with mounted machine guns. Novelty pricing settles at $45,000 to $85,000 for the handful restored as historical curiosities rather than serious weapons. KV-1S. The KV-1S lightened the heavy tank by sacrificing armor for speed, creating transitional design that satisfied nobody. Rarity pushes values towards $720,000 to $980,000 for this compromise machine that museums barely acknowledge. Su-57. The Su-57 married American M3 half-track chassis with Soviet 57mm anti-tank gun in bizarre Lend-Lease mashup. Extreme scarcity of this Franken vehicle commands $280,000 to $450,000. Assuming documentation proves authentic wartime conversion versus post-war recreation. BA-3. The BA-3 early armored car served through Spanish Civil War before obsolescence rendered it target practice. Pre-war extinction means no private examples exist, theoretical value exceeding $400,000 if one miraculously appeared from forgotten warehouse. T-34 bridge layer. The T-34 bridge layer sacrificed its turret for engineering equipment, laying spans across rivers under fire. Conversion rarity adds 40% over standard tank pricing, reaching $520,000 to $780,000 for complete operational examples. OT-34. The OT-34 flamethrower tank replaced main gun with fuel tanks and projector that terrified German bunkers. Extreme rarity pushes values beyond $1.2 million. Though finding one outside state collections requires Cold War-level diplomatic maneuvering. KV-8. The KV-8 heavy flamethrower mounted projector behind dummy gun, disguising its terrifying purpose until ignition. Virtually mythical status means pricing exceeds $1.8 million hypothetically, with perhaps two examples existing globally in museum imprisonment. M72 motorcycle. The M72 copied BMW's R71 design, becoming standard Soviet military motorcycle with sidecar. Affordable oddity status delivers $12,000 to $28,000 pricing, making it the cheapest entry into Soviet military vehicle ownership. So what's the reality? 90% of Soviet vehicles sit locked in museums, their for display only status killing private ownership dreams. Eastern European collections hoard the remainder behind export restrictions and cultural heritage laws that treat T-34s like national treasures. The restoration spectrum ranges from authentic survivors to Theseus's tank paradoxes, where every component has been replaced. Your gas truck costs new car money at $25,000. That T-34 demands supercar money at $500,000. A KV-2 requires mansion money exceeding $1.5 million. And that OT-34 flamethrower? If you have to ask, you can't afford the diplomatic favors required. Whether shopping for affordable trucks or dreaming of Stalin's heavies, Soviet iron isn't just history. It's a market where rarity, legend, and Cold War nostalgia collide at hammer price.